Howdy, my loves. So today we are going to be reading the Caraval series. Now, if you guys haven't read Caraval, I feel like you would know its counterpart a little bit better, which is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, even though that is the spin-off. That seems to be more well received than Caraval. Caraval is the prequel to it. It's a series about a magical universe. Magic exists, the fates exist. It's a very magical circus theme type of vibe. The three books are Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. If you guys have followed my channel, you know that I have a book club at work, and this was a series that we picked out to read together. However, that was not a very easy decision because we actually debated between two different series. The first one was Six of Crows, and the second one was Caraval. Okay, so my work book club needs help choosing what series to read next. Cassie's gonna finish Iron Flame. Nick and I both finished Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. We loved it, and we're choosing between two different series, which the first one is Caraval. That's a completed trilogy, so that's totally out. It's rated like 3.9 or something like that, and the series gets better as it goes along. And then we're debating between Six of Crows. Now here's the problem. Six of Crows, only 2 books have come out, and there's a whole series before it, Shadow and Bone, that needs to be read at least chronologically in order to get to Six of Crows. I don't know if it's okay to skip it, so that's really what I want an opinion on. Also, Caraval is owned by both Nick and I. We already have the books. Cassie owns nothing, so she's got to purchase it. And then I own Six of Crows, so Nick has to go out and buy it. Another thing, Caraval is rated lower than Six of Crows. Six of Crows is rated extremely high. It's like 4.5 or 6 on Goodreads out of like 800,000 people, which is crazy. And then also Shadow and Bone is not as good, so we don't want to start with that. So basically, I just want to know what your opinion is, because we were going back and forth and we do not want to decide between the three of us. It's too much. So if you could let us know which one to read first, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Now, ultimately, the comments decided that we would be reading Caraval because it is a complete series. And so I bought all 3 books. I would love to say, guys, that this is probably the prettiest series that I've got. And they just go so well together. I just freaking love that. I think it's amazing. A lot of times what pisses me off is if a series is like different heights or like different designs, and I'm like, jail for that. But this is all matching, and I really, really like it. My book club decided to start with, of course, Caraval. Caraval is about Scarlet. Now, Scarlet is an older sister. Her and her sister Tella are daughters to this very abusive man, and it doesn't help that their mother basically disappeared a couple of years ago, and ever since then, their father has been incredibly abusive to them. They've been trying to figure out a way to escape ever since. Scarlet is betrothed to a count, and she is banking on this marriage to kind of save her. But her sister Tella kind of has other ideas. She doesn't really think that this count is going to be any better than their father. And at the same time, Caraval is basically a circus, and it's kind of like this magical event that takes place in very certain locations, invitation only, and it is headed by a Grand Master Legend. Legend is a magical being. Nobody knows what he looks like, who he is. All they know is that he's full of magic. And for a couple of nights within the year, he creates Caraval, and there are different rules to it. And basically, it's just very magical, circus-like. It kind of gives me Mirror Ball vibes. Scarlet understands that her sister is missing, and she ends up getting lured towards a ship where Julian, this pirate, is waiting for her and kidnaps her. Julian and Scarlet go onto the island, and they quickly realize that Caraval is a game centered around figuring out where her sister is. So Scarlet wants to make it back in time to marry this guy, but she has to find her sister, otherwise she's worried that her sister will die. So the game is about Scarlet and Julian finding Tella. I'm about 90 pages into reading Caraval. So far, I love it. It is so fast paced. So they just got to the island. Her sister's nowhere to be found, and this isn't a spoiler, but in the summary it says that her sister is kidnapped by the legend who runs Caraval. So she's teamed up with the sailor who brought her to the island, who I just do not trust him. Yes, he's hot and like he's, you know, making Scarlet feel all sorts of things. I do not trust him. He's there for some other reason. He kind of admitted that, but I don't really know what that is. I think maybe he has something against Legend. Julian is pretending to be a fiance. He's just giving me strong Captain Hook vibes. Like, Captain Hook from Once Upon a Time. Like that's who I picture right now, just because like he's a pirate and like he's got that like dark, broody, like snarky, smirky type of attitude. That's what I'm picturing. Because we just entered Caraval and already it's a little bit magical, but I can't wait to actually get to the show and like what's gonna happen when she's trying to find her sister. I'm so excited. So I just wanted to give you an update on Caraval, which I have since finished. I finished it last night. It was a really quick read. I think it took me like 2 to 3 days to finish it. And the rating that I ended up giving it was 3.75 stars. Really, really liked the beginning. I think the beginning was really fast paced. And all I wanted to do was really get to the island where Caraval was being held. And we got there pretty quickly, I feel like. We got into the meat of it and the conflict pretty quickly. But I feel like this was supposed to be like a fucked up game, basically, like for Master Legend who runs Caraval. And I feel like it just could have been taken so much further. And additionally, at the end of it, if I was Scarlet, I would have been traumatized. The fact that she witnessed both her lover and her sister die in front of her, and they actually died, by the way, like she saw blood pooling, like their bones broken, like she actually saw them die, not like presumed dead, like they died. And the fact that they weren't dead, I would never trust anything or anyone ever again. And you learn at the end that basically this was all Donatella's doing, that like to escape their father, she basically asked Legend to help her. And I kind of want to know why. Like Julian kind of hinted at it where like he lost faith, because you find out that Julian is actually Legend's brother. And he's like, I lost faith in him. I lost faith in Caraval and like what it could be for people. Like it turned way too dark. Legend's like, give me one more chance, I'll do it right this time, and he chooses to help Donatella and Scarlet. But I want to know why exactly he chose the two of them. I assume he's sweet on Donatella, but I feel like Tella just created this whole messed up scenario that's just kind of ridiculous. Listen, I get the want and the need to get away from their abusive father. I don't know, aren't there easier ways to like fake your death? I just felt like overall it could have just been done better. Like the premise is so good, like the bones are there, but I feel like it just wasn't executed properly. And also the ending, like it went from one extreme to another, right? Like the game was underwhelming and then the ending was too much. Like girl, meet in the middle, relax. I did buy Legendary and Finale. Yes, I'm on a book buying it, but I bought those 2 books because I had a gift card, so they were free. So don't come at me. I assume that if it's free, it's fine to get. I'm actually reading this book with my book club, as I said before, and 2 of the book members are still reading it. One of them finished, Jackie, I love you. And she gave it the same rating as me, 3 stars. And so I can't wait to discuss with her. But before I move on to Legendary, I'm gonna wait for them to finish this book so we can discuss. I did hear that the series gets better as it goes along, so I have high hopes for the next 2 books. And surprisingly, the second book is not about Scarlet, it's about Donatella. So I'm excited to get more of Tella and also more of Legend in there, because I am so intrigued by Legend because we still haven't met him. Just to give you guys an update, I am finally reading Legendary. I think I mentioned that I'm reading this with my book club, and therefore I am trying to stick on pace with them. So I finished Caraval a while ago. I read some other things in between for another video, and I started Legendary. I'm on page 184 out of like 400 something. My initial thoughts, this is going much better than book 1. I think I'm enjoying it more. The storyline to me is better. The different facets I think are more interesting. It's still Caraval, but it has a little bit of a twist because it is set in a different land called Valenta. There are actually fates involved in this. So fates are basically like very old magical beings, and one of them is Jack, so I believe is the main character in the spin-off Once Upon a Broken Heart. I was so excited to see him. It's all about like these deck of cards, Deck of Destiny I think it's called. Hella learned about that from her mother, and basically she's playing Caraval again to get her mother back because she thinks her mother is trapped somewhere within Caraval. Scarlet's still in this, but we're not getting her point of view, so it truly is Tella's story. What I think is crazy is that my book club reminded me that Tella is like 16 years old. Excuse me? And then I think Scarlet's then 17. And Julian and Dante are like immortal. As long as they stay with Caraval, they don't age. So I'm like, how old are you? And you two are running around with like a bunch of teenagers. Jax is a lot more evil than I thought. Dante is, I think, falling for Tella, and he is really upset with the fact that she's not like super into him. And so he starts a rumor that she's engaged to the heir of Valinda and basically puts her in sight of Jax, who is the heir. He goes along with the charade, kisses her, and his kisses are deadly. So he was like, if you win Caraval and give me Legend, I will then give you your mom and stop you from dying. I want to say Dante's Legend just because he's like way too described too much in detail to not be important. But I also want to know what Jax wants with Legend. The only thing we know about that connects them is that the witch who cursed the fates and like trapped them is the same one who gave Legend his magic. Just very excited. So we're gonna continue reading for the day. I was literally getting my haircut this morning and I downloaded the ebook just so I could read while I was getting my haircut. I read a really big chunk of Legendary last night. I don't know, I just got super into it and now I am 72% of the way done. I'm on page 326. At first when I started reading the book, I got really nervous because the beginning was very reminiscent of book 1, and considering it's a different character and a different island and just a different book in general, I was like, well, I don't want a repeat of Caraval. I already read it. Thankfully though, it did divert pretty quickly, and one of the things that I find different about this book is that while there is a love interest and it's Dante, I do think that there's less romance in it than in the first book, which I actually find kind of interesting because there is that tension between them, but a lot of the steps and moves that Tella's making in the game are by herself, and she's really figuring it out like on her own. Funny enough, one of the things that she said when she was in trouble was like, if I were Scarlet, I would have been saved already, but I'm Tella and I'm just me and I have to figure it out on my own. And I kind of like that. Another thing that diverted very quickly, and I think the most interesting part, is the fact that the fates are in here and it's not just Jack. So Jack was the main fate that we were introduced to. He's the one who cursed Stella with his deadly kiss, and that's why she's really trying to win Caraval, because if she doesn't win it, she's gonna die by the end of the week. There were other fates that were introduced as well. So there was I think it was the Undead Queen and her handmaidens, and Tella actually fought them off. And so Jack says that just because they're out in the world doesn't mean that they're free. They're a shell of what they used to be, and they need their powers back from Legend. Also, it puts Tella in kind of a bind because either she's gonna hand over Legend to the fates and they're gonna be restored to their full power, but if she goes against them, she will prevent the fates from ruling the world again, but then she'll give Legend all the power, supposedly. Basically, what she needs to do is find the deck of destiny that her mother stole from the fates. Dante and Julian are actually looking for it as well. I think Dante's Legend. He called Julian his brother. And also, the one thing that I really like that's different about this book compared to book 1 is that in book 1, they told Scarlet, like, be careful, don't be carried away. Nothing in this is real, it's just a game. But in this book, in the beginning, they were like, this is real. It's pretty entertaining. I was a little scared in the beginning, but now it's getting a lot better. So I'm excited to finish up the last 100 pages.
You're dreaming about somebody else. Now I'm feeling.
So I finished Legendary. I do think that this book was better than book 1. I was honestly really surprised that I ended up liking Tella, because in book 1 I thought she was so insufferable, but I actually ended up really liking her point of view, and so I ended up rating it 4 stars. Now, the ending, however, had me a little disappointed because I did not like that it was completely obvious that Dante was Legend, okay? I think that there should have been other options. I wish that was a little bit more fleshed out and a little bit more of a mystery. The one thing that I loved in this book was the fates and the concept of the deck of cards. I think that that was so cool. I really, really like that, especially Jax. And I know that he has his own spin-off series, the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which I do have. And so I thought this book was incredibly entertaining. The ending, I wish, just was a little bit more developed and a little bit more mysterious, because again, like, it was, you could have guessed that a mile away. And considering how shielded Legend was in book 1, I feel like that energy should have been carried out in book 2. Like I said, 4 stars. I am just waiting on my book club to finish with this book, and then we are gonna go ahead to the last book, which is Finale. So I don't think I told you guys yet that I am reading Finale, but I started a couple days ago and I am about 175 pages in. Not everyone in my book club finished, and I was getting a little impatient. Me and another girl within the book club decided to start because, a little bit of tea, our other member finished it without telling us. Okay, I'm just gonna name him Nick. F you. And so we just decided to go ahead and start. And in the beginning, I'll say that I wasn't super motivated to continue with it just because of where it was in like the cliffhanger from the second book. But now I'm in like a really good spot where I really want to know what's happening. The thing that I like about this book is that it's in both girls' perspectives. So it flips between Scarlett and Tella. Scarlett and Tella are both in like these love triangle situations, but it's very obvious who they're gonna pick. Scarlett is already trying to break things off with Nicholas, and then Tella is kind of bouncing back and forth between Legend and Jax. People are starting to think that she's Jax's one true love. I just don't think that's true. If Jax had a one true love, just because he's conniving and evil, he definitely wouldn't let that rumor spread. Like, he wouldn't let people think it's true, because that would mean a weakness for him. And so I think he's just letting people think it's Tella when it's really someone else. And I'm excited. I just think this series is so binge-worthy. Like, it's just so easy to read. It's entertaining. So I'm gonna spend the rest of the night reading. I just ran 6 miles, so I'm freaking tired as hell. It's only like 11. I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna be watching The Eras Tour. And I'm gonna be finishing Finale. Have to. I only have less than 100 pages left, so I have to.
It's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, it is Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I like to watch it. I like to listen.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're Swifties here. I was born in 1989. Oh, hi.
Her hair is still straight.
I know, it's gonna get curlier.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
When it's curly.
Too late.
I got
Come back. That's what she's gonna say. I'm so good.
When we were in 7th grade,
I just finished Finale, and listen, this one had me conflicted because I was glad to see my girl Scarlett again. I still think the premise of the series is really great. I just think this book was my least favorite of the 3. I had really high hopes for this book, really high hopes, because this was rated the best on Goodreads and my friends really like this book, but I ended up rating this, I think, 3.5 stars. I get that we are in a fantasy world where there's like magic and fates and like all these things going on, but it should still make sense what's happening for each character. So like at the end, when the fallen star, which is Scarlett's father, surprise, that was a good plot twist, I really like that, was brought back to his emotions by his daughter pretending to be the love of his life. He was so far gone that like the charade kind of fell apart, and then she was just kind of like her and he knew it. It just felt really, really weird. There's no way that he feels anything for his daughter that he just started communicating with. However, I just want to say that does not diminish how I feel about the series, because I stand by what I thought in the beginning, which was that it's a very bingeable series. The premise is so fun, it's magical, it's light. There are really good spots in it, and I don't want the last book to deter you guys from reading the series as a whole, because sometimes the sum of its parts are greater than the individual things. And you know, that's okay. So like the series as a whole for me is like a 4-star series, even though the individual parts weren't exactly all 4 stars. It does lead me to have a lot of questions about the fates, about Jack. I really am excited to get into the spin-off, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart, I think it's called, because I've heard that is like top tier. I can't believe that Jack and Tella were married. The covers are stunning. I'm very happy that like I own this series. So let me know what your thoughts on the series was. I'd love to hear if you guys have read this, if you're considering it. I'd be so happy to hear about it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Look at her eyes live on the street. Look at I started from the ghetto. This I will never make it big. Me, I tell them say I will know. Look at me, I started from the streets.